Morgan Hale stepped into her corporate tower long before sunrise, her heels echoing through the empty marble lobby. She hadn't planned to be there at 5:12 a.m., but a restless night and a nagging sense that something in her life was slipping made her drive in early. She expected silence, stillness, maybe even the comfort of solitude. But instead, she stopped mid-stride, breath-catching. At the far end of the hall, the company's night janitor, a quiet man named Elijah, knelt on the floor, not cleaning, but carefully repairing something small and metallic, his hands trembling with a focus she'd never seen. He didn't notice her. Not yet. And Morgan felt an inexplicable pull toward the scene, the kind that whispers, "This moment will matter." Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. Morgan stepped closer, her eyes adjusting to the warm glow of the maintenance lamp. Elijah's broad shoulders were hunched, and for the first time since she'd hired him 7 years ago, she heard him humming softly, a tune filled with longing and memories she could almost feel. He flinched when he finally sensed her presence and scrambled to stand, nearly dropping the object he'd been working on. It clattered but didn't break. "I'm sorry, Ms. Hale," he said quietly. "Didn't expect anyone here this early." Morgan raised a hand gently. "It's all right. What were you doing?" Elijah hesitated. 1 second. 2. Enough for her to sense the weight he carried. Then he lifted the object toward her, a small, battered music box, the kind that belonged to another lifetime. "My daughter's," he said. She passed 4 years ago. I come early to work sometimes just to fix this. It won't play anymore." The words settled heavily between them. Morgan felt something shift inside her, shame for never truly seeing him, and an ache she couldn't explain. She had everything: penthouses, power, stock portfolios. Yet she had never known a pain like the quiet devastation in Elijah's eyes. "Das." As he spoke, dust sparkled through the thin beam of his lamp. His hands trembled again, and Morgan realized the man wasn't just fixing a music box. He was desperately holding on to the last piece of his child. "Why here?" she asked softly. "'Cause home is too quiet," he whispered. "And grief is too loud." The line hit her like a blow. Morgan felt her throat tighten. She thought of her own father, distant, demanding, always disappointed. She'd chased money for decades, trying to fill a hollow she never acknowledged. But nothing she built ever felt like enough. She crouched beside Elijah, something no employee had ever seen her do. The marble was cold. Her heart was warm in a way that frightened her. "May I look?" she asked. Elijah blinked in surprise but nodded. She gently turned the music box in her hands. The gears inside were worn, some bent. She thought she'd never see something so fragile repaired. She was wrong. Morgan had spent years designing products in her early career, tiny movements, intricate mechanisms. She recognized the technique. The parts weren't broken, just misaligned. "You're closer than you think," she murmured. Elijah tensed, almost afraid to believe it. So they worked together. Two people from different worlds sitting on a cold lobby floor at dawn. Her fingers steadied the gears. His tightened the screws. Their breaths synchronized in a strangely comforting rhythm. Around them, the building began to wake distant elevator hums, security footsteps, the first golden shaft of sunlight stretching across the tiles, but no one interrupted. They moved like a tide, slow and steady, each gesture deliberate, each second filled with something sacred. Then, finally, Morgan wound the key gently and held her breath. A tiny click, a pause. Then soft, delicate music trickled out, faint but unmistakably alive. Elijah covered his mouth, tears pooling but refusing to fall. His shoulders shook with emotion he had buried for too long. "It's her song," he whispered. "I didn't think I'd hear it again." Morgan felt her own eyes sting. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking of profits or deadlines, only humanity. But not everyone saw it that way. As employees arrived, whispers filled the lobby, murmurs of disbelief. Some paused, confused. Others sneered quietly, judging a wealthy CEO kneeling beside a janitor. A moment of moral tension flickered. Morgan could stand up, wipe her palms, and pretend this never happened. She could choose pride, as her father would. Or she could choose compassion. She rose slowly, helping Elijah stand with her. And then loud enough for every whisper to hear, she said, "This man reminded me today what real strength looks like, and I am grateful." Silence swept the lobby. Then, unexpectedly, a small cluster of employees began to clap. Not for her, for Elijah, for courage, for grief, for love that refuses to die. The applause grew until it filled the building like thunder. Elijah bowed his head, overwhelmed. Later that morning, Morgan retreated to her office and stared out over the city. She felt changed, grounded, and she knew exactly what she needed to do. She created the Elijah Scholarship Fund, dedicated to children from underserved communities who dreamed of studying music. Elijah tried to refuse, saying he didn't deserve it.
No.
Morgan smiled gently. "Your daughter's song deserves to live on. So does your kindness." That night, as Elijah cleaned the last hallway, the music box played softly in his pocket, a quiet reminder that even the smallest melody can heal the deepest wounds. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And sometimes, all it takes is walking in at the right moment to finally hear the music. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more warm, cinematic stories from Whispered Words.